is.
Ultimate attack, Socke.
He is in the yellow trunks, and he is playing Protoss to the northwest of this particular map versus his opponents. Coming through also from the round of 8, one of the 2 Terran players remaining in this particular tournament, known as Creative, but he doesn't like that term. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you
Team Liquid, TLO.
He is in the red trunks, and he is playing Terran to the northeast.
One thing about these 2 players is these 2 players are probably the greediest StarCraft 2 players you will ever see.
And by greedy, you don't mean they're
hungry. No, I don't mean that. They don't eat 3 pizzas to everybody else's 1. I mean their economy in StarCraft 2 itself. Both of these players extremely aggressive with being late, with gateways such as we've seen a 13 gateway already.
Yeah.
Greedy. You know, 12 is safe. 13 being, you know, a little bit risky, greedy, and he'll probably use a 3 chrono boost as well. On the other hand, TLO is a guy that likes to double expand with Terran.
Yeah.
Literally.
Good map for it too.
When I say double expand, it is literally expand once, then straight away another command center right off the bat.
Yeah.
Both these players being really greedy. And being a best of 5, there's a lot of maneuverability, to be honest, to actually react to that. We'll have to see who will pick up on that first, to be honest. But like you said, these both have met before. They're both German. They play a lot. They know each other's style.
Rivalry between these 2, honestly. There are several extremely good German players. TLO being one of them, Socke being another, Hazorbs being another, Goody, of course, rising to prominence right now, who is known now not just for his turtling. He's got some crazy early game stuff with Banshees and everything like that too. He's actually kind of terrifying the Panzer General. But whatever the case, the Germans have an active, thriving scene, and they play against each other a lot. TLO plays against Socke an awful lot. That we know for a fact. And TLO opening up nice and standard. Barracks followed by a refinery on 13 immediately into the orbital. It couldn't get more standard than that. And Socke kind of doing the same thing. He's grabbed a single assimilator thus far. Cybernex core going down at the appropriate time and not skipping the Zealot this time. Yeah,
we do have just 1 in gas for the entire duration so far for TLO.
Interesting.
And he's going to go ahead and throw down that command center nice and greedy as expected. And he loves to go for like mid-game Reapers. Not really mid-game, but mid-early game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
He likes to build like a Marauder, Marine or something, and then builds a Reaper. So I wouldn't be surprised if he built one after this Marauder, because it's kind of a funky timing that Protoss players aren't really used to. Yeah, and he could push in the middle of the map too, and Socke will bring his units, get ready to defend, and all of a sudden a Reaper goes in. And on average, out of all the games I've ever seen people do that, you get like 3, maybe 4 probe kills, which is so good. And then scanning information as well. And we do have this 1 barracks expand by TLO, followed by 2 more barracks. And looking over into Socke's base, it looks like he is going to go for a 1-gate expand. So nice macro builds by both these players so far.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you should mention the whole Reaper thing, because that kind of timing also exploits the fact, and you were absolutely right, it is coming, that usually at this point, the Stalker is away from the main mineral line, because the first Stalker will have pushed out to scout, and the second Stalker usually moves down to try and prevent scouting and also to be a bit of defense down at the upcoming natural. So yes, that mineral line is vulnerable, and this is a great map to do it. I like Reapers on this map, even in lower leagues, because of this. You can see it right here, such a direct route. If you happen to spawn cross position like this, really easy. That sentry could die. A Reaper kills a sentry, no problem whatsoever. Taking a sentry would be huge at this stage.
But he's more interested in killing a few probes and getting some scanning information. Great force field.
Very nice. Incredible force field right there. And I know everyone says, oh, nice force field, incredible force field. But that really was. That Reaper did nothing as a result of that.
Didn't even get any scanning information.
No, it
check
didn't.
The second gas.
No, it didn't.
They absolutely did nothing. That was really nice there by Socke. Really jumping on that moment. And great use of the sentry there.
Yeah, if I was honest, then if I was TLO, I would have simply attacked that sentry and killed it. It's as simple as that. In a straight-up fight, it's very easy. You take 100 gas from your opponent at that stage, you've double paid for the Reaper.
Yeah, and it actually forced TLO to scan the natural because he didn't scout as well. So not only did he kind of lose the Reaper for nothing, he had to use a scan, which is so hard to do at this stage of the game. And look at that, trademark TLO early third base taken here. So greedy, these little German players.
Well, it's reasonable. Against Socke, Socke is quite passive in the early game. He is very macro-orientated. So there was nothing wrong with doing that at all. And if we have a look at Socke's base, he is currently sitting on 3 gateways. It's a 3-gate robo. the possibility for early aggression, particularly the amount of sentries he's got, is not all that high. Yeah, he can poke, but it's a little bit risky. That force doesn't have a lot of meat behind it. If he sends that out and then the Marauders start decking it, then he's going to lose a lot of gas potentially. It's not worth it. It's not worth the risk. And as a result, yes, TLO can take this expansion. And that puts him ahead. If he's able to hold on to that and he's able to deal with harassment, then he is economically ahead.
We saw the effect of getting a fast third by Tyler, if you remember yesterday, when he grabbed a second and third at the same time. It does so much, but look at this awkward Reaper timing once again. You know, it really does catch Protoss players out because they don't want to have units at the back. And now TLO goes in and sees everything. He may be able to even get some probe kills here.
Yeah, I think he will. It shouldn't be too much of a problem maybe to take a shot, but I don't think he wants to lose the Reaper, honestly. And he's scared that he will if the Stalker comes around and if there's a sentry hanging around the place. But yeah, he gets that information, and really, let's be honest, what would you rather spend at this stage of the game? A scan or a Reaper? A Reaper is, if you're good on gas, then a Reaper is a better investment.
And he's got to keep his Stalker behind to actually defend against it for coming in again, which is really smart here. And one thing in StarCraft 2, which I think has been hardly nailed down on in terms of timing, is third base timings. Like in StarCraft 1, when an observer comes into a base like we see Socke, you know, a player like Bisu would be going in and be like, all right, where's that 400 minerals gone? What are you doing? And then would automatically think about a third base. In StarCraft 2, that hasn't been nailed down as hard yet. People don't know, because with that observer, I really don't think that Socke picked up that there's a third base just by looking in that base there.
No, I don't think it did.
He naturally is going to be at a disadvantage the longer this game goes on. And already we're going to have Medivacs into the play. Meanwhile, over in Socke's base, we do have Colossus on the way out now. A Forge as well to begin that +1 attack. And the longer he waits, if he waits for 2-3 Colossus, there's going to be Medivacs and Vikings with a lot of ground units on the floor. And Observer is on the way, though, to double check. Look at that. He will find out. And he needs to push out a lot earlier than he would rather like to because of that.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a scary prospect. You want to know what else Reapers are good for? Blowing up destructible rocks. Because, of course, they count as buildings. So TLO's actually working his way through here, possibly to take an X-Bow, or more accurately, maybe to try and block off this area, possibly harass from the lower ground right here. You never know. Now, there is a big mix of bio in the middle right here. Ghosts are on the way too. I'm a little bit worried right now for TLO because he's not building Vikings yet, and as you said, it's going to force an early push out. Socke's going to do that. He does have only a single Colossus supporting this push. So, oh my, that's not good. TLO's going to get intercepted. Needs to drop that off almost immediately. And at least he gets his forces on the ground, and he does have forces nearby if he wants to engage, but he doesn't. He doesn't want to be anywhere near that at the moment. TLO, once again, needs to watch out for that. The Medivac float. Oh, wow, that was not good. That must have been hotkeyed, and that was a big amount of missed micro right there by TLO.
And only 2 Vikings just about to pop. That is not enough to even kill this Colossus fast enough, and TLO's in a world of pain. Yeah,
he really, really is. And there is the separation right there with the force fields allowing a nice arc of fire from that Colossus that's already racked up 11 kills. I would imagine it's paid for itself at this point. And TLO now on the high ground, trying to push his way through that. Immortal is smashing its way through the Marauder count as well. There's a single Viking in the middle of the map that's not doing anything. And this is really a disastrous engagement for TLO.
Yeah, I mean, Socke hit perfect time. He usually, like I said, he would have wanted to go with 2 or 3 Colossus as Thermal Lance finishes, but he can't. He has to go now to punish this third base, to punish the fact that TLO grabbed it so early and does not have the units. The one mistake TLO did is he didn't scout. He didn't know there was Colossus coming, therefore had no units to react to this whatsoever. 1 Colossus without any Vikings is always going to beat a Bioforce here.
Yeah, the Warpint's coming in from behind as TLO attempts to intercept. The problem is there's a second Colossus coming in. And does he have the Viking count to deal with it? Well, he can take that Colossus out. He did spend a few bio units to do it, but it was a good trade. And now TLO actually moving away, trying to draw Socke's force out of position so that he's got a little bit more time to start reinforcing with this third base. He did have an economic advantage until he got ripped to pieces there by the Colossus. And in fact, he still does, because of course he's got 3 orbital commands. The problem is he can't mine from this base at the moment.
Socke is trying to take a third base now as well. Marauder is here to kill the probe, but is not going to be able to kill the Nexus here. And now Socke is pushing up into the main, well, natural area of
no bunkers for TLO either. That's not good. Observer is down, but he's having to pull SCVs at this point, which is never what you want to do against Colossus. A flanking attack comes in, and that Colossus at the back will eventually die. Unless Socke moves out of position. There we go. Down it goes. The shields are down on that. And TLO with a counter-attack right here. Most of the meat of that force is gone. The Colossus almost died. It would have been great if he managed to pull that off. but he lost a lot of SCVs. Let's look at the count. 20 workers have been killed versus 7 right there for TLO, which is not good at all. And while Socke doesn't have this third base yet, the amount of damage that's been done here with this base now being denied means that Socke is economically ahead.
Yeah, Sokke's gone back into building probes now as well, as the attack is now finished off. The command center is finally going to go down here for TLO, which is a sad day, especially within this one series. Marauders are going to kill a single Colossus in the middle of the map. A nice little flanking maneuver here from TLO, but at the same time, he really does not have any units or economy to keep going in this game at this current point in time.
Yeah, it's a real problem. His defense wasn't up to snuff, and he made little micro mistakes, in fact, that lost him. That he wants to take this out. He might have the firepower, actually. He's going to have to overstim in order to make that happen, and micro incredibly well. But it looks like that Nexus is going to go down. Focus on the Nexus. Nexus, down it goes. Nicely done there by TLO, and equalizing the economy for the time being. So he's still in the fight.
Yeah, and he basically nullifies the fact that there are 62 probes versus 43, because the probes are useless now.
You can't mine.
You
can't mine
at the current point in time. So that's a really good comeback there for TLO. But at the same time, he did manage to keep the command center alive, which is excellent news.
Yeah, I did see him repairing it, actually, under there, while the Zealots were trying to chop their way through the SCVs, so looks like he did manage to save it. And if he redeploys it somewhere out of the way, then he'll be able to mine. And I honestly don't think Socke was necessarily expecting that one. And that's a bit of an unfortunate engagement right there for TLO. He's most of his forces alive, but the force fields go down. He doesn't have anything to bring down this Colossus right now. Viking count is about to get a lot better. He's about to have 3. He's got to hold this position until the Vikings come and not lose too many ground forces. If he can do that, he'll be in a great position. There's a Viking coming in right now, and he needs to attack from the high ground right there. Comes in with the flanking maneuver, but that's a lot of ground forces annihilated. GG, ladies and gentlemen. And the first game of this best of 5 series there going to Socke.
Socke with the relentless pressure as soon as he finds out about that fast third base there. And I guess the one slip-up you can say where the game kind of fell away from TLO is that he just did not have enough Vikings out in time ready for that engagement. And, I mean, that was the biggest mistake.